Good afternoon. You're listening to Gambling with an Edge. Now here are your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Today is another Bob and Richard Answers Their Mail show. We're going to go through most of the questions we have, so keep them coming in at gamblingwithanedge@gmail.com, Twitter at RWM21. Did I get that right finally?
Yep.
I don't have
Yeah, that's right.
After telling me 45 times, you'd think I'd have that by now. I'm such a sharp guy. All right, let's get started. This is mid-February. What's changed in Las Vegas, Richard?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about some of the things in the news. First of all, last week, the mask mandate was rescinded in Nevada just in time for the Super Bowl. So for you table games players who have been hiding behind your masks, that doesn't mean you can't still wear a mask. And I think, you will be able to keep wearing a mask until it starts to look weird that you're the only guy wearing a mask. So it's been a big help for a lot of players to be able to wear masks. They can play in places they've been thrown out of. But so eventually that's going to come to an end, and this is the beginning of it in Nevada. And, I'm sure we'll hear reports from people where in other states where they rescinded the mask mandates earlier, whether they're still being able to wear masks and if it's starting to look weird yet in other places.
Yes, and who knows if the mask mandate will be reinstated again. There's this pandemic has been going in cycles, and it's no fun. And I don't know what the next variant's going to be.
But there will be another one. Eventually, it will keep changing.
It may come back strong. All right, one of the people we like to talk about on this show is Mattress Mac. He didn't have a good day on Sunday.
No, which he was betting on Cincinnati, but unfortunately he was just taking the money line. And had he bet with the points, he would have won. But because he only took the money line, and I guess Anthony Curtis and Frank B were trying to convince him that he should at least put half the money, with the spread, but he said he didn't feel right about if he were to win and his customers still lose. So, so he did not win his $5 million bet that was getting so much news coverage in the last week.
Well, it was more than $5 million. He had one $5 million bet and another one for $9.5 million. So this was an expensive game. Presumably that was offset by money he would not have to pay out at his furniture store. But and it was so close. In other words, it didn't. The end was uncertain until very late in the game.
Yeah, an exciting game.
And on the game, I said there's really good prices on betting the no on 3-point margin of victory, and it was a good price, but the yes came in, and so anybody who followed my advice on that, I apologize, but you're on your own there.
But you would have won your no safety if you had bet that.
Yeah, no safety came in and no overtime and no 2-point conversion, but a lot of good bets end up losing. So what's different at Bet MGM?
Oh, yeah, this is something I think a lot of our listeners will be interested in. Bet MGM announced that you were now going to be able to use credit cards to fund your Bet MGM account with no fees. So this would be, first of all, I don't even know if this could be legal in Nevada. It might only be for other states, but and I'm waiting to hear back about Nevada, which I haven't yet. But I am hearing that already people in Pennsylvania and New Jersey have been trying to do this, and their credit cards keep getting rejected. So Bet MGM may want to be able to do this, but the credit card companies right now don't seem too enthusiastic about the idea, and it's a big problem still. It's not working. But if they do get it working, this will be a great way for one to one to fund your accounts, but the other to churn miles or whatever on your credit cards. You know, a lot of our listeners are into churning for points and things, so there may be some good opportunity there.
Yes, I didn't. I didn't do this on the Super Bowl, but when I tried to fund sports accounts in general with my credit card, I learned that on one I had a $20,000 limit, but only a $1,500 limit on the cash advance. So I was expecting to be able to get it all in, get in whatever I wanted in there, less than 20,000, but and they said, "I will give you 900," which was at an online casino with a $5,000 free play if your bet loses, and I was not interested in going for $900 on that. So it's going to take a while, but there's definitely an opportunity here when that gets ironed out. Presumably, if it does, it will spread to other casinos as well. It's a very competitive business. Next question. If I take my wife's player's card and use it for future mailers, particularly the Four Queens and Minions in Las Vegas, what are the risks of doing so? If her card is in and I hit a W2G, what are the ramifications? If I only use it for non-W2G plays, what are the drawbacks? So, South Point is the only casino I know that specifically allows you to play on your spouse's card. Some casinos forbid it and will kick you out when they find out you're doing it. Others are more tolerant. I'm not sure of the policy at the two casinos you mentioned, or even if the policy is consistent from shift to shift. If you hit a W2Gs while playing on someone else's card, it might be awkward. If they ask, tell them it's your wife's card. If that appears to be okay, great. If they tell you that it's definitely not okay, and if you get caught doing that in the future, you'll both be kicked out, believe them. It's at least possible that a casino will kick you out the first time you get caught at this, but usually they'll give you a warning first.
And you could always bring your wife with you and have her sit at the machine with you. Then you shouldn't have any problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not possible for everyone or convenient.
Yeah, and some wives are not real good at, honey, I want you to sit here for 8 hours and watch me do my thing. You can bring a book if you want. I practice 9-6 double-double bonus on win poker frequently. When dealt unsuited Jack, Queen, Ace, you usually hold Jack, Queen. It's one of the few times the ace doesn't take priority over the other cards. However, I've noticed that when one of the other two cards in the hand is a 9, you sometimes hold the ace. Can you explain when to hold the Jack 10 in that hand and when to hold the ace? Okay, over a podcast is probably not the best place to discuss penalty card situations, as the student needs to write things down, check out examples, and get correction. The Dancer Daily Winner's Guide to Double-Double Bonus covers this extensively, and the strategy card will give you every situation. With that said, this varies by game. In 9-6 double-double bonus, when you have a totally unsuited ace, queen, jack, as you say, the usual correct hold is queen, jack rather than ace. When there is a 9 also in the hand, you hold the ace by itself unless there is a flush penalty in the hand, meaning another card suited with the ace. When there is an 8 in the hand, without there also being a 9, you hold the ace unless there's a flush penalty to the ace or a low straight penalty to the ace, meaning 2, 3, 4, 5. If both the 8 and the 9 are in the hand, you simply hold Queen, Jack, 9, 8. I made a mistake of playing with a player's card at a local casino where they know me fairly well. I'm a blackjack player. If I rat-hold chips while using my card to make it look like a loss, could this essentially benefit me over the long term? Richard.
Yes, somewhat. I mean, it will take them longer to back you off if they think you're losing. But yeah, probably better to just stop playing with the card altogether.
And being good at rat-holing is different than being not so good at rat-holing.
Well, yeah, yeah. Rat holing is an art in and of itself. Actually, I should say more than that. Not just rat holing, creating losses for yourself is an art in and of itself.
Do you have any intention of sharing some of that art with our listeners today, or just figure it out yourself?
Yeah, for now, figure it out yourself.
All right. Do you have any tips or insight as experienced cruisers with MGM or Caesars loyalty status? I see for Caesars and Norwegian Cruise Line, there are no free cruises, just a discount based on tier. It looks like you can use reward credits to pay for some of the things on board NCL. NCL has a loyalty program. Do they status or tier match? I've sailed numerous times on NCL, sponsored by Caesars. I've not had a cruise sponsor. I've not been on a cruise sponsored by MGM. There are different sorts of offers. The annual 7 Stars trip gives you a free balcony suite, although you need to pay port fees and taxes, and there's a $14 or so daily gratuity fee. None of these fees may be paid with total rewards points. Other offers have different rules. NCL has a Casino at Sea program where if you play in the casino enough, you get things, sometimes special things on your current cruise, sometimes discounts on future cruises. They do not status or tier match with casinos at sea. Do you have any experience there, Richard?
None at all.
I've recently started learning and practicing video poker. What software or website do you recommend for error correction when practicing video poker? What brand of toothpicks do you recommend for wedging your eyes open when the video poker play goes on for hours and your mind gets numbingly bored?
Obviously, this person has never listened to the show before if he's asking about what website we recommend for video poker and software.
Yes, we have, there is the pro website on videopoker.com. I sold for years video poker for winners. It's not sold anymore. It no longer works on most Windows-based computers. It still works on mine, and I'm using it as long as I can. Win Poker is still a decent product, largely unchanged since the last major update, perhaps 25 years ago, other than to make it work on newer machines. I don't know how long it will be available. I don't use toothpicks. Sometimes I'll take a shot of 5-hour energy, but that works for me less than 5 hours. And once I've taken one shot, a second shot in the same day does nothing to keep me alert and can mess up my sleep patterns. If I can function well without taking such a shot, I do. If you find video poker mind-numbingly boring, perhaps it's not the best choice of a game for you to learn. I was recently at the South Point for the Spin to Win promotion. This is where you play $2,000 a day up to 4 times and get to spin a wheel at the machine. I played jacks or better, $2 denom, $10 a hand. After the Players Club 0.3 and the $12 per spin average, it was points. It's another 0.6. I had an expected value of about $35 if I played $8,000 coin in. So far, I'm in agreement. After about 10 minutes, I was up $500. I thought about getting up and walking out because $500 is more than 10 times my expected value. After all, the casino and promotion will be there again tomorrow. Instead, I decided to keep playing until I got all 4 spins, which I eventually did, after losing back the $500 plus another $1,000 of my own. Question: does it ever make sense to leave the machine, or in Richard's case, the table, when your actual winnings are much greater than your expected value? If Richard was playing blackjack with a 5% edge, I'm sure he would want to play as many hands as possible until they kicked him out. With video poker, however, the advantage really only exists up to a certain limit. In my case, I only had an advantage until $8,000 coin in, so I left after that. But should I have left when I was up $500? What if I was up only $200, etc.? All right, we get the picture. You are concentrating on today's score. Basically, I never do that. I'm looking at my annual or lifetime score. Being ahead $500 or $1,000 since I got out of bed this morning is simply an adjustment to my total bankroll. Although there are better games to play at the South Point, you still have a 0.4% advantage for the rest of the $8,000 coin in, whether you've hit 2 royals already today or can't even buy a flush. On the spin to win promotion, if I was there, I always played the entire $8,000 per day, no matter what my score was. Richard.
Yeah, my leaving game has nothing to do with how much I'm winning or losing, other than how that affects, the casino and their view of me. But if I have positive EV, I'm going to play as long as I think it is safe for me to play, and I'm alert and not making any mistakes. Those are the factors that I'm considering when I'm going to stop playing.
Yeah, and it can be that you have run out of cash on hand and don't have any easy cash at the casino. That can happen. And a wise player has enough with him or available to him when he goes so that doesn't happen very frequently. You don't want to take $20,000 with you to play a quarter game, but having enough so that you run out of money less than 5% of the time is probably about right.
In James Grosjean's book, he says, when you're packing for a trip, pack half the clothes and twice the cash.
So you only dress from the waist up or the waist down? I was confused.
You just turn your underwear inside out the next day and wear it again. There you go.
In blackjack, is side counting aces and 5s on a 6-deck shoe pointless? Richard.
Yes. Not only is it pointless, it's counterproductive, because you're probably going to be making mistakes in your count if you're trying to also keep these side counts. But those side counts aren't going to help you. It's definitely pointless. And keeping a side count of 5s isn't a thing. What's important is, so if you were playing single deck or double deck, what's important is not how many 5s are left. It's the relationship between the number of 5s and the number of 6s. So people who were single deck specialists would keep that relationship of 5s to 6s, and it was only relevant for hitting 16 versus a 10. So, yeah, keeping a side count of 5s isn't a thing at all.
All right. How many hours of study or practice would it take an intelligent beginner to become a winning player at video poker? The term intelligent beginner is not well defined. People are intelligent in different areas. Some are math adverse, some are risk averse. With that said, a lot of this depends on where you're playing and how well bankrolled you are. Even more, is the golden age of video poker has passed. Yes, it's still possible to make a good living at this game, but it's much harder than it was 10 years ago, which was much harder than it was 10 years before that. Do you have any comment on this, Richard?
Yeah, video poker, if I were trying to go earn money in casinos, video poker is not where I would focus. But maybe it's the guy's game of choice anyway. So maybe
All right.
that's why he's choosing it.
So this is a question for Richard. How do you view your future of the future of blackjack? How wildly has it varied through the years? Do the conditions go up and down over time, or do they continue to decline overall?
Well, I don't know that they continue to decline at all. I mean, I started playing in 1977, and every year since then, every year, I hear people saying blackjack is dead. When you can't make money counting cards anymore. When I started, it was because they were bringing in, 4 decks and 6 decks instead of single deck. And every year, blackjack players, it seems like, are making more and more money. So even though the limits are not really going up, but the thing that has really been a boon for card counters is that there are so many casinos in so many states now. But the future, I am not hopeful about the future of table game play. I think there are going to be 2 factors that are eventually going to kill it. Number one is we are moving away from we are moving to a cashless society, and eventually you won't be able to play with cash, and what that means is they will have your identity. And so once you are established as an advantage player, you will be done. Because they're already in Atlantic City, for example, you cannot bet more than the minimum bet on some tables unless you have a player's card. So 2 things are going to kill advantage play, table game advantage play, and those are your loss of anonymity, and eventually I think all table games will be machines, like those crap tables that you see that are under a glass dome, and it's all a machine. And that way casinos don't have to pay dealers and don't have to worry about health insurance or people not showing up for work. It's just so much more efficient for the casino to not have to pay employees. And eventually I think we will move to that. And that will also kind of kill table games, I think. But I think the future of machine play is bright. So I think a lot of those players will focus more on machines and less on tables eventually.
Okay, the next question is for me, and it wants to know if I do any advantage play besides video poker. And in round numbers, no. Video poker and taking advantage of video poker promotions is more than 90% of my gambling play. I do have a few odd facts in my brain about certain numbers where certain slot machines are playable, but I'm certainly not an expert in that area. I did move to Vegas almost 30 years ago to be a blackjack counter. Although it would take a review to get up to speed on all the index numbers, I'm still fairly competent at basic strategy. If I pass a blackjack game in progress and see a lot of low cards on the layout, I'll typically take a seat and put a $100 bill out there as a bet for the next hand. Sometimes it's accepted, sometimes it's not. It's not a major AP play, but it's in my arsenal. Another part of AP that isn't typically mentioned is being frugal. When it comes naturally, this comes naturally to Bonnie and me. Money saved from previously not spending it is just as valuable as money earned. I almost never go and scout Ultimate X games. I'm too well known in slot departments. Some of the casinos that allow me to play are looking for an excuse to disinvite me. Cherry picking Ultimate X games could well be such an excuse. I did go to Arizona and Colorado to get sportsbook sign-up bonuses. It was definitely a profitable play. I may continue to do that when I travel to other states there where I don't have current sportsbooks account. I don't know.
I would just add that money saved is actually worth more than money earned because it's tax-free. If you go out and earn $1,000, you pay tax on it. If you save $1,000, you've already paid the tax. So.
Next question. Over the course of 2021, I've accumulated hundreds of dollars in change vouchers, the tickets that remain after money is dispensed from kiosk after slot machine money tickets are input. I was extremely disappointed to be told that they can no longer be redeemed after so many days, 30 days at some places, 60 at others. Is this legal? They are stealing our money, and I refuse to wait in long cashier lines for 39 cents after each gaming session. Time is money. Also, Caesar's Property does this cute thing, whereas the ATM or change kiosk dispense coin tickets that are not redeemable within slot machines. This is maddening. Cashier lines are the only way to obtain this money back. Hundreds of dollars worth of tickets, when the most one can be is 99 cents, and the average amount is certainly less than half that. It sounds like you're picking up discarded tickets from other players as well. This is probably not a crime, but there is likely a casino rule or policy that discourages this. If these are indeed all your tickets, you must be cashing out numerous times in a day of play. Some people do this, but now there's an extra cost if you continue to do that. And even if you cash out at one place and move to another, you can always put in your old ticket in your current machine so that there shouldn't be more than one ticket per day, per machine, per casino.
That is kind of crazy, though, that you can't put your ticket into another machine. That really sucks.
Yeah, it's a receipt, not a ticket in, ticket out ticket. All right, we're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we'll be back to more questions. South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning at least 99%. This is more such games than anyone else has. Throughout February, the $500,000 plus Crazy Cupid's Money Madness will have 2 casino-wide promotions running at all times. The larger promotion, which starts at $10,000, must be hit by $25,000, gives all active players $25 in free play when the promotion is hit. The smaller promotion, which starts at $1,000 and must be hit by $2,500, is scheduled to be hit approximately 3 times a day. Once hit, these progressives start over again and will continue to do so until they are hit after 3 a.m. March 1st. To be eligible for both promotions, players must have played at least $1 in coin in the previous minute.
Hey, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and if you're serious about card counting, I'm sure Bob and Richard would agree that there are 3 things every advantage player needs to succeed. You need to gain the edge over the house, you need to manage your bankroll, and you need to get the hours in at the casinos. After a decade of playing professionally and running teams, I wanted to create the exact training, tools, and community I wished I had had for myself and my blackjack teams, so we created the Blackjack Apprenticeship membership. Our membership will help you perfect your game, manage your bankroll, and you'll join a supportive community of like-minded card counters and APs. Find out more at blackjackapprenticeship.com.
Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the Gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is Triple Bonus Poker. This is an ultra-high variance game. It's similar to Triple Double Bonus in that you get paid $800 for 1 for all aces with a 2, 3, or 4 kicker. But this time you also get $800 for 1 for all 2s, 3s, and 4s with an ace kicker. This is an additional $400 for 1 on these hands over Triple Double Bonus and occurs approximately every 13,000 hands. To pay for this, the straights are reduced from paying 4 for 1 to 3 for 1, which costs you a bit more than 1% because straights come in approximately 1 in 97 hands in this game. The variance is around 140. which will make you wish you stayed home if you don't hit one of the big hands today. All right, we're back to the mailbag. This one's for Richard because I have no idea. Someone is wondering where they can obtain the most issues of Arnold Snyder's Blackjack Forum magazine. Only a few seem to be listed on eBay.
Wow. I would have said eBay. The other thing would be to maybe post on Blackjack the forum or the Blackjack Discord saying that you're looking for back copies.
Yeah,
there was a period when Arnold first moved his publishing over to Huntington Press where they were selling off back issues. You could also try contacting Huntington Press and see if they still have back issues.
Yeah, there have to be a lot of people who were avid blackjack players back in that time who no longer have any interest in the game and wouldn't mind getting rid of some of their old stuff. Question is finding them. They're not likely to hang out on the blackjack forums if they've already given up the game. So I attended one of Bob Dancer's classes at the South Point the year before COVID and learned a lot. Thank you. And now he sticks to 9-6 jacks or better games, $5 machines, craps, $440 a roll, basic strategy blackjack, $50 a hand. Although he knows these games do not have an edge, the goal is to cut the losses or to win a little on an annual basis, as well as to accumulate enough comps to support my avocation of playing in casinos. So far, over the last 4 years of doing so, the long-term percentage have played out as you guys have advised they will ultimately. I go to Vegas or Reno about once a month and play in the local casinos in my home state of Colorado. The question is regarding comps. Is it better to focus all my gambling time and money in one establishment over a year's time, or better spread my action out over several places? I continue to earn decent comps. However, it seems that each year that goes by and the more I play, the more the comps and the amount of free play has decreased, even though my gambling amounts and time spent have stayed the same. I can't tell if this is because I'm doing something incorrectly, if it's a COVID thing, or it's just because the casinos have so much business right now, they don't have to give out as many comps. It seems this is the way with M Life and Caesars of the world, as well as the smaller casinos. So yeah, comps and promotions are decreasing everywhere. And since now casino profits are sky high, it's likely casinos have concluded they do not need to bring back comps to the level where they used to be. So you're going to need more to get the comps that you prefer, which basically means since you're playing negative games, your free vacations are going to be less free and more expensive. Insofar as your question of should you stay at one place or several, my answer is, well, how much in comps do you need? If the comps are food that expire at the end of the current trip, well, you only can eat so much. If they're rooms, well, a room is a room, although a room at MGM is not the same as a room at Gold Coast. Casinos vary in the quality. If you are staying by yourself, possibly you're not as picky as if you're staying with your wife, or vice versa. But I expect comps in casinos benefits to continue to decrease indefinitely. Richard?
Yeah, I would say to frequent the places that are giving you the best, or what you consider to be the best comps, and rotate them. So stay away from a place for 6 months and see if the offers start to increase for them to try to get you back. And then maybe move to that chain and stop the other ones, and kind of play that game of playing at a place for a while and then stopping and seeing if they try to earn your service back. And the other thing is, if you haven't already, you should get a copy of Comp City and understand the ideas in that book about how to get more comps. Some of it is out of date, but the basic idea of being able to make the casino think you're betting more than you're actually betting is really still valid and a way to try to get more bang for your buck.
Okay, the next question may be from the youngest listener to ever send in a question. I'm not sure. But he says he's 16 years old and really good at games, gets straight A's in schools while taking mostly AP, advanced placement courses. Also have a score of over 1,500 on the SAT. My parents want me to fully focus on schoolwork. However, I want to be a professional gambler when I grow up. Am I stupid for trying to pursue this? What are your thoughts? Well, clearly you're not stupid at all. I encourage you to follow your dream. I also encourage you to follow your parents' advice and focus on school. You'll need a backup plan, and putting all your eggs into the professional gambler basket leaves you with few options if you later decide that this isn't what you want. The world will look a lot different at age 21 than it does at age 16. It could look a lot different at age 30 than it does at 21. So having some kind of safety net is usually a smart play. Most parents hope it is something other than themselves for your safety net. Richard.
Yeah, I became obsessed with gambling at about that age. And I think whatever you do, you should pursue the things you really are interested and passionate about. So absolutely, I would focus on that. And it sounds like you're pretty good at math. So be sure to take classes in statistics and probability and computer programming, because if you have those skills, they will be extremely helpful as a professional gambler. Just listen to any of the professional sports bettors on here. They all have stats backgrounds. So yeah, and if you don't end up going into gambling, those skills will be tremendously valuable in many other areas as well.
They are. And most successful gamblers started young with an interest in games and some kind of an ability. So the next question is somebody who's not starting young. He's currently 58 and going to be retiring in 2 years. He has an initial bankroll of $20,000 to $25,000. And in today's gambling environment, he wants to know what Richard and I would recommend AP game he would start learning first. Richard.
Well, I would say, what are you really interested in? I mean, you have to like doing it, right? If you don't like doing it, then what's the point? You have a job already, and if you're retired, do volunteer work instead. But if you were starting out and wanted to build a bankroll, I would start with slots and online gambling. Those are the easiest ways to build a bankroll. If you have a bankroll of 20,000, you want to get to 100. That's kind of your first goal. Get to 100,000 bankroll, and the easiest way to do that, I would say right now, are online and in slots. But again, if you hate sitting at a slot machine pushing a button for hours, then life is too short to work at stuff you don't like.
Yeah, for me, I definitely would not take up video poker. It's going to take. There's such different games. Deuces Wild strategies are so much different than Double Bonus, which are so much different than Joker Wild and Ultimate X, etc. So there's a long learning curve, and the golden era of video poker is gone. I might consider Blackjack depending on how much I was willing to travel. The reason I would go with Blackjack is because of Blackjack Apprenticeship. They have good teachers and information where you can get up to speed fairly quickly, and they'll blueprint it for you. And so if you're willing to travel and you're a good student, you can do that. If you're going to stay in one place, Blackjack is not a good option because wherever that is, you will burn yourself out pretty quickly. Slots, like Richard does, there's a lot of places online which give you hints on how to go about advantage slots, as to look for this particular number on this particular game. Part of this depends on where you are. Doing this in Vegas is tough because there are so many people in Vegas trying to do this, and you're butting heads with many, many hundreds of players. If you're doing it in a one casino town, there's probably not enough slots to keep you going. So again, you're going to have to travel or be in an area where there's a lot of different casinos, but most of those areas have a lot of different people pursuing the slots as well. Like Mickey Krim has been on the show a number of times, and he makes loops around the country. He lives in Montana. He goes down to Oklahoma with several stops along the way, and he has a number of casinos. In Oklahoma, he makes loops and then goes back and tries the same thing in an extra few weeks, and then he goes back and the same way he came, stopping at the same places a few months after he was at it before. This is not the life for everybody, but it is. I'm sure he does all right financially, but it's not an easy way to make a living. Next question is for Richard. A card counter wanting to get into hole carding, and he's 6 feet 6 inches tall. Wants to know if he's too tall to realistically do this, and will his height also affect how much he's remembered at casinos? Richard.
Well, yes, I would say your height is going to make you remembered. I have known a couple of hole carders who were, 6'4", 6'5", that had very good eyes, and they were good readers. So it does not completely, knock you out completely. It depends on your age and your eyesight, and it takes a lot of work to get good at it. But it's possible, but certainly it is better to be short.
Well, I'd rather be tall with good eyes than short with bad eyes. Yeah. But sometimes hole carding works with a partner, whereas the one partner sits in one seat and bets small and gets the information and relays it to the big bettor, and it's okay for big bettors to be big.
But you are going to be memorable. So once they do decide you're an advantage player, they're going to be less likely to forget you when you come back 6 months after having been backed off. But the good news is, if you actually find a partner or learn to read yourself, the backoffs are far if you know what you're doing, which is a whole nother aspect of the game. Is so for any kind of advantage play, there's two parts. There's learning how to get an edge, and then there's learning how to take the money out of the casino. And if you're good at learning how to take the money out of the casino, the backoffs will be few and far between.
Okay. Earlier this week, I have a weekly blog that you can find it at gamblingwithanedge.com, among other places. Earlier this week, I published one on what would you do. And the basic nature of the article is there were a group of us who rotated to keep a machine. And the guy who was supposed to come at 8 o'clock at night called up at 7:30, said he's on a progressive on the other side of town and not willing to give up that to come and keep his promise and go with us. And we ended up losing the machine to another group of pros and didn't get it back for a month. Later, got the machine back, and he approached and wanted a shift on the play. And I was really leery. Didn't give him a shift because once he stood me up, and once he'd made the choice of he was going to go for temporary profits over keeping a deal with his partners, I kind of blackballed him from working for me. So my question in the article is, what would you do? So Richard read that and said that brought up some incidents in his mind of a similar nature. So Richard.
Well, yeah, I think these are the questions that we all struggle with if we work with teammates. We've all had teammates do something. I mean, some of them are obvious, right? Of course, if the guy steals or whatever, then yeah, you're not going to work with him ever again. But yeah, how do we make these decisions? What is okay and forgivable and what isn't? And I just thought it was an interesting article, that it was thought-provoking, and have struggled with the same kind of issues. If the player had been a good teammate in the past, then I may be more quick to forgive them. But I know that I always kind of thought of teammates as friends, and it was always really disappointing to me when I found teammates where it became obvious they were not thinking about the good of the team. They were thinking about what was going to profit them individually the most. And as I say, I found that disappointing, but I guess human for a lot of people, and was not an automatic, I won't work with the person again, but it just made me leery of some people. I don't know. Tough questions.
Very good. Yeah, something to think about, even if there's no black and white answer.
Yeah.
Because every case is different. We have one more question. It's going to be for Richard. And so we'll do this again once you send in some more questions. So do it at gamblingwithanedge@gmail.com or some of the other places that we've already spoken about. I'll be visiting a fairly safe country soon, non-Western, and I'm wondering how to keep my bankroll safe from theft and other unforeseen events. I'd like to do some touristy activities on this trip in addition to my play. I could carry all the money on my person. Should I? What other ways do you use to keep your bankroll safe during international play? And so, Richard, this is for you because I have not done international play.
I feel safest with the money on my person in a money belt under my clothing. You don't want it in your pockets because, especially like Eastern European places, there are a lot of pickpocket teams and things. So that's where I think it is safest. I feel it's definitely safer to have it on your person than leaving it in a safe in a hotel room. I am leery of those. So yeah, that is what I would do.
So let's say you had your money in a belt and you get to the casino. How do you get it out of the belt?
I go to the bathroom before I start playing and move it from, and maybe I would only move, say, 10,000 into my pocket, or it might be more, and if I'm getting low on cash, I would go back to the bathroom and, go in a stall and move more out of the money belt into pockets. Oh, and the other thing is pockets with zippers. Yeah, pockets with zippers are a really good idea for any advantage player.
Yeah, and cargo pants, when sometimes they don't have zippers, but they have a couple buttons on them, are better than no buttons, but zippers might be better. All right, So that's the end of our questions. At the end of our show, we usually come and have a recommended section. Richard, do you have anything to recommend to our listeners today?
Yeah, I just binge watched a limited series on Netflix called Unbelievable, and a true story about a serial rapist. And well, it's actually about the police who are trying to catch a serial rapist, and it was unbelievable. It just I think many of our listeners will relate to the way the police treat this girl that gets raped. It is just had me wanting to throw things at the screen. Um, but anyway, it was really well acted. Toni Collette is one of the detectives, and I just found it a really, really good series. There's 8 episodes, and as I say, it's based on a true incident case that happened in Colorado. So yeah, it's called Unbelievable on Netflix.
And for me, I saw recently for the first time the 1996 movie Fargo with Frances McDormand and William H. Macy. It is streaming on Canopy with a K, which is for free if you have a library card. It's an AP to use streaming things that are free. So the story concerns this car salesman, William H. Macy, who is in a financial bind, and he hires 2 guys to kidnap his wife. Seems his wife has a wealthy father who would pay a ransom to get her back, and then Macy and the robbers would split that money, and that would solve Macy's money problems. The plot starts to go south when the kidnappers are stopped by a state trooper for not having the proper tags on the car. Frances McDormand won her first Academy Award for the role of a pregnant policewoman. She keeps asking questions, kind of like old Peter Falk in the Columbo series, and has an unbelievable accent. And the movie's quirky. It's funny. There's violence in it.
It's a great film. Yeah,
it's not a comedy, but there's a lot of comedic. These characters.
I believe that is based on a real incident.
They say it is.
Yeah. And by the way, they made a series called Fargo on FX, and the series was really good also. Every season was a different set of actors about a different crime. And yeah, it was really good.
Did any of them actually take place in Fargo? Because the movie didn't.
Yeah, right. No, I don't think so. I think they mostly took place in Minnesota. And actually, on this TV series, I think the last season may have taken place in Kansas City. But yeah, anyway, both are really good. Both the movie and the series. The movie was done by the Coen brothers, who are some of my favorite directors. It's a pair of brothers who direct together.
Ethan and Joel. Is McDormand married to one of them?
Yeah. I forget which one. But
very good. Yes, she's a... All right. So thank you to our listeners for sending in our questions. Please send us some more. Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.